My mother pitched her horse against the river. After the rain, the current was strong and the water was unknowable. She searched for the split tree she had taken as a marker, but through her tiredness, the trees all looked the same, and then, in narrowing her eyes to see them better, they looked more and more like men than trees, all leaning into the river. She could not let them find her. The water was suddenly deep, deeper than she recalled it, and her heart rose inside her as Houdini's hooves scraped and slipped against the river stones. She did not let go of his reins. She urged him on and squeezed her thighs against his sides and tilted her hips forward until at last, with a great surge, his hooves found land. They had crossed the river. There was more daylight than my mother wished for, and on this side of the bank their tracks were still visible. The rain had softened them, but they held their form. She stepped Houdini carefully over them, slow and pained, until the impressions of his hooves forward and back were so close it was impossible to tell which direction they had set off in first. The forest floor was a webbed mess of fallen branches and ferns, and they galloped over it at full pelt. Their tracks would only matter again when she reached the boundary of Fitz's land. She rode out into Fitz's clearing and angled Houdini along the fence line until they reached the first gate. He was shying, and even if she had wanted him to, he would go no farther than the gate. She swung herself down and unbuckled the saddlebag. Pulling out Fitz's boots, she drained them of water, then walked towards the upper gate barefoot. The long grass was a carpet, flattened by rain. She walked past livestock which shifted around her in a silent stupor. From the beginning of the upper gate, there were no trees. Fitz had cleared them all. There was still smoke rising from the house. Only part of it had tumbled. Only part of the roof collapsed. Half looked like it was sliding into a hole, while the other half was perfectly intact. She slid her feet into Fitz's boots, which were heavy, and even heavier wet. The leather against her toe was cracked, a monument to Fitz, to his kicking. Her skin was smarting within them, and her bruised hip pained her as she walked. She was thinking that a bruise should not outlast a man. A boot may last, but the bruises he made should vanish with him. "Please be dead," she said, and it was not the first time she had said it. She pressed her weight into the boots and stepped inside the house. The kettle was still sitting on the stove amid remnants of the chimney. She moved farther into the remains of the house and felt heat rising into her feet. "Fitz," she yelled. She pulled up the hatch to the cellar. She could not remember closing it. The boards were creaking and parts of the house were still hissing with flame and damp as she leaned into the mouth of the cellar and searched out the form of him. There was not enough light to see but for small lit patches splattered against broken glass. She held onto the edge of the hatch. "Fitz, you fucker," she called. "Where are you?" And then she saw him, or some of him. An arm, a torso, the strange patterning of burnt skin. A smell rose up of him, the smell of vinegar and onions, just as he had always smelt, and before she could cover her mouth from the stench of it, she was vomiting into the cellar. She was on all fours, and the house was sucking the life from her. There was hardly any strength left in her as she wiped her mouth and rolled onto her back. The shock of the morning had finally hit her. Any part of her that was not numb was trembling. But this is my mother. Lying on her back, she pushed with her legs and her feet what mess and rubble she could into the mouth of the cellar. She heard it all crash in around the remains of Fitz, and the sound of it consoled her. She did not look back into the cellar, but turned herself over and launched herself, unsteadily, to standing. Still wearing Fitz's boots, she staggered from the house and all the way down to the wet grass.